Last year, we told you about the emotional journey of Canadians who want to choose when and how they die. After our story about dying with dignity aired, their victory finally came, with the Supreme Court striking down Canada's law against assisted suicide. But a year later, a new law still isn't in place. And as Claude Adams reports, lives remain trapped in a frustrating legal limbo.
We met Elaine Chapre more than a year ago in her home in Vancouver.
You're doing a pretty good job.
I know.
Elaine suffers from multiple sclerosis and requires constant care.
I only put half in, so you didn't choke.
She was part of a landmark Supreme Court case that would decide if the law against assisted suicide was unconstitutional.
Wait, how you do it?
Pretty much.
Elaine was hoping for a change in the law so she could control the circumstances of her death legally.
I want peace. What I want to know is when enough is enough. But there's a doctor out there who'll say enough is enough. And there would be physician-assisted dying. And that's why I'm so in favor of it.
14 months later, we went back to see how she is, now that the law preventing assisted suicide has been struck down.
On February 6th, when I heard that we won unanimously at the Supreme Court level, I was elated, and I said I didn't think I'd live to see this day.
You didn't think you'd live to see this day?
The day that they'd say physician-assisted dying was constitutionally your right.
The law was struck down, but at the same time, the court suspended its decision for 12 months, leaving families, caregivers, and those who want to die in a precarious legal state, while Ottawa develops new legislation.
Physician-assisted suicide, big question mark.
We went to constitutional lawyer Karen Eltis to clarify the current state of the law.
You're saying that this law, in this case, articles of the Criminal Code, are unconstitutional and therefore cannot survive. They do not pass constitutional muster, and yet we're keeping them alive for the government's convenience.
Essentially, the law preventing assisted suicide remained in effect for another year, even though it had been struck down, leaving people unclear about the consequences of assisting a suicide.
In theory, someone could be charged. There would be tremendous apprehension in engaging in assisting a dying person when one is uncertain of the state of the law.
And then, after 12 months of uncertainty, the court gave the government an extension, 4 more months.
The Supreme Court granted it an extension that has been the object of quite some criticism.
It's an agonizing delay for those who are suffering.
This waiting time continues. I keep trying to fight this battle. I need help with all aspects of daily living, and it's pretty demoralizing. Plus, I look like I'm okay, but I'm not. Now, it just seems like it's dragging on a bit.
A new law won't be in effect until at least the summer. Why do you think it's taking so long?
I think there's a fringe group of people who are very vocal and talk about that we're going to encourage people to end their lives needlessly, and that medicine can look after all people's problems, and there's no reason to have physician-assisted dying, but the Supreme Court said there is.
The Supreme Court has left a door open for people like Elaine. They can apply to a superior court in their province to end their life with the assistance of a doctor, as long as they meet the criteria set out in the Supreme Court's ruling. That process, however, could be lengthy and difficult.
Think of terminally ill individuals in terrible suffering. Do they have the resources, both emotional, physical, let alone financial? Pursuing a case is quite difficult to ask for that exemption.
In one province, however, terminally ill people don't have to wait any longer. This past December, Quebec's end-of-life law came into effect, the first of its kind in Canada, which the Supreme Court allowed.
Quebec has passed a law, has addressed the healthcare aspects of assisted suicide, end-of-life care.
The Quebec government confirmed at least one person has already died with the assistance of a doctor, a Canadian legal first. But while Quebec moves forward, the rest of Canada is left wondering what a new law will look like.
I'm hoping that the Parliament will come up with rules that will make assisted dying very available, that they won't put barriers in the way, that the most that they'll do is need someone to have two doctors' consent.
We sat down with Canada's Justice Minister and Attorney General, Jody Wilson-Raybould, to ask if that's what the new legislation will look like.
We haven't predetermined an outcome. We have formed a special committee that has members from the Senate and the House of Commons, and at the heart of the work that we're doing is ensuring that we hear all voices and put together a framework that's balanced.
But that framework is still undetermined, and the writing of the law has not yet begun.
We need to do this quickly, we need to be respectful and responsible, and we need to ensure that we meet that deadline of June the 6th, which we're working extremely hard to do.
Meanwhile, Elaine won't say what her exact end-of-life plans are, but she's hopeful for a time when those who are suffering can die with the law on their side and their family and a doctor by their side. The fight isn't quite over, is it?
It's not quite over yet, but I feel hopeful that the right, or I know that the right to assisted dying is going to happen. It's just how easily and when.
And that is our broadcast for tonight. A reminder, you can always connect with us on Facebook and Twitter or at globalnews.ca/16by9. I'm Carolyn Jarvis. From all of us here at 16 by 9, thanks for watching.